Hey everybody, all right, today I want to talk about something that is at the very, very heart of this YouTube channel, and it needs to be the top priority for every household and business budget, and that is cash flow. And that's because you're not going to find a single financial success story out there without it being your primary target. I'm sure you've heard that term or that phrase thrown around a lot, and if you've followed my content, then you already know that we use it here all the time, but I want to break it down in a way that makes it very relatable and easy to apply into your own life. Because when it comes to personal financial goals, cash flow really is the king. So let's start with what cash flow actually is. Essentially, it's a very simple equation. It's the difference between all the money that comes into your house or your business minus the money that goes out. It's very simple, right? But where are these people all getting tripped up? What I found is that a lot more people are putting too much stock into how much money they make. But it's not about how much money you earn, it's about how much of that money you're able to keep, and more importantly, what you're doing with it. A lot of people think about their salary or their monthly income, and they just get stuck on that number as the defining point of their financial success. But let me tell you, I've seen many people over the years making six figures and even multiple six figures per year still struggling financially. And that's because their cash flow is simply out of whack. If you're making $10,000 a month, but you're spending $11,000 per month, you're not going to achieve your financial goals no matter how much you're making or how proud of that number you are. So the real question becomes, how do you optimize and manage your cash flow in order to make sure that you're moving in the right direction? Well, first, you need to be crystal clear on what your inflows and outflows look like. And this might sound obvious, but a lot of people, in fact, the vast majority, really just don't have a good handle on where their money is actually going. And I'm not saying that you have to track every single penny. I'm very detail oriented and I choose to do so, and I think it helps me, but you do need to really make sure you're understanding the bigger picture. And are there any other areas where you're overspending? Are you perhaps living beyond your means? Are you making impulsive decisions? And these are tough questions, but they're essential to managing your cash flow. Once you've got that picture, you can start optimizing. And optimizing cash flow doesn't necessarily mean cutting out everything you enjoy. It's about finding a balance and making conscious choices. For example, are you spending money on things that are truly aligning with your goals, or are you just spending because it's easy or convenient? If you have financial goals like, let's say, saving for a house or starting your own business, or maybe even retiring early, your spending should reflect that. Next, I want to talk about something that's really often overlooked, and that's the concept of paying yourself first. And a lot of us have heard that term used as well, but it's crucial. And when your paycheck comes in, the very first thing you need to do is determine the percentage and allocate money towards your goals, whether that's saving, investing, paying down high interest debts. You've got to think of it like setting aside money for your future self. And if you don't prioritize yourself, all the other bills and all the other expenses and all the other frivolous spending is going to swallow up the money that you earn before you even get a chance to make any progress. And if you run the numbers and there isn't enough money left over after your bills and your spending to invest in your future, then you must make changes immediately. Now, another aspect of optimizing cash flow is debt management. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that all debt is bad, because that's not necessarily true. In fact, my drain business currently has over $600,000 worth of debt associated with it. The tools and the machines, the vehicles, all the equipment that we purchase, we strategically financed, and it costs us about $14,800 per month, which sounds crazy, right? But not so fast, because while it's hard to imagine for most people, the items that we financed actually allow us to make between $100,000 and $175,000 per month, of which 40% is profit right now. So my business partner and I have been able to pay off over $300,000 worth of debt in just a 5-month period of time, while also paying ourselves $7,000 per month each. But I manage these techniques and our decisions meticulously, and I literally will spend at least 30 to 60 minutes every single day working our plan and our strategy and tracking every number so that we can make the most calculated decisions possible. And nothing that we do is random. It's not sporadic. And while it's important to make decisions quickly sometimes, we're able to do that because we're so involved in our numbers and we're aware of what we should and shouldn't do. And that increases our chances of success, even though we're taking on risks by leveraging. So some debt, like a mortgage or a business loan, when it's invested wisely, it can be a tool for growth. But high interest consumer debt, that's a cash flow killer. If you're carrying credit card balances with 15 to 30% interest, that's money that's bleeding out of your pocket every single month. And the faster you can eliminate high interest debt, the more cash flow you can free up for your goals. Now, generally speaking, eliminating the high interest debts before you invest is best because typical returns on investments are actually much lower than what you pay towards those credit cards or perhaps lines of credit. And in some cases, other types of debts too. I've even seen it on auto loans. Those interest rates can be very high. So it can be very difficult to make more from your investments than those debts will end up costing you. So attacking those early is important. Now let's also talk about emergency funds for a second. If you're constantly worrying about unexpected expenses, whether that's a medical bill, maybe a car repair, something small, like needing a new appliance even, you're not going to be able to focus on your long-term goals. And that's why having an emergency fund is so critical. It's one of the basics that's often taught, and it'll give you a cushion that allows your cash flow to keep moving towards your future instead of being derailed by every little hiccup that seems to come up so often. Now, personally, I teach that the most sophisticated way to manage your liquidity is to park those funds against your high interest debts like credit cards or lines of credit until an emergency happens so that you can reduce those interest costs as much as possible in the meantime. However, I do find that so many people are just bad at managing the day-to-day of their money, and they don't have the discipline to avoid spending on their credit cards for the things that they shouldn't be spending on. And for that reason, I would say those people really should be putting money aside in a high yield savings account for those rainy days, and they really shouldn't be touching it, and that would be much better. So you really need to be honest with yourself and really understand what your history is and whether you're finally willing to take your money seriously enough to use the basic techniques or be a little more sophisticated about it. Now, once you've got your cash flow optimized, meaning you're spending wisely, you're paying yourself first, and you've got a handle on your debt, then it's time to start thinking about how to grow that cash flow position. And this is where investing comes in, whether that's stocks or real estate or even starting maybe a side hustle business. The goal here is to create additional streams of income, and this not only increases your cash flow, but it can give you a lot more flexibility and a lot more security in the long run. Imagine just making another $500 or $1,000 every single month after taxes. But here's the thing, you don't have to wait until you've made it, so to speak, to start investing in yourself. Even small amounts can compound over time. And the earlier that you start with that, the better off you're going to be. Here's the trick. You've got to make it a habit. You've got to set up an automatic transfer into a savings or investment account, and you've got to let it work for you in the background. This way, your cash flow isn't just something that comes in and goes out. It's something that's actively working to build your future. Now, finally, remember that cash flow isn't a one-time thing, guys. It's not like you optimize it once and then you're done, you're set for life. Life changes and your goals change and your cash flow needs are going to evolve with you. And that's why it's really important to regularly check in with your finances. You want to make sure that your money is still working towards the things that matter the most to you. So to wrap this up, cash flow really is the foundation of achieving any personal financial goal. And it's not just about making more money, it's about managing what you have in a way that supports your goals. And having done my 2025 goal setting, I now know that I will be making six figures by just having my money working for me through this year. And by understanding where your money is going and making intentional choices, paying yourself first and managing those debts, setting up that emergency fund, and then investing in your future, you really can create a financial life that's both sustainable and aligned with the dreams that you have. All right, guys, so I'm not going to belabor that any further. That's it for today. I hope these are good reminders for you, give you some solid ideas. I'm sure this is nothing new, but I do want to keep pushing you, especially coming into the new year, so that you can keep making progress on your financial goals. And remember, it's not about perfection. It's about making consistent, intentional moves in the right direction. So I want to thank you, as always, for listening. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed to the channel already and you want to hear other ideas of how to exactly go about beating the banks at their own game and turning your life into something that you always pictured. It does not have to be all about material things and living glamour, lavish luxury types of lifestyles. It's really more about having freedom of choice to be able to do what you want, when you want, from wherever you want, for as long as you want. And that's what we teach here. So drop a like on this video if you want us to continue to put out gentle reminders like this, or more specific, detailed examples of how you go about doing this. Otherwise, drop a thumbs down if you got nothing from this video, and it'll help us make sure we're steering in a direction that's more favorable for you. In the meantime, make it a great day today, and always keep on cash flowing, friends. Take care. Bye-bye.